I'm Mark Jolly. I'm a psychic, a modern-day oracle.
You have a question you'd like to start with?
Although I've been blind since birth, I have the ability to see things that others cannot. When I touch somebody's hand, I get flashes of their past, present, and future. I've teamed up with one of North America's most talented mediums.
I'm Laura Warren. I've been communicating with spirits since I was a child. As a professional psychic medium, I act as a conduit between the living and the dead.
Laura and I are on the road, putting our psychic skills to the test, investigating paranormal mysteries in some of the oldest places in North America. While we tap into our psychic ability to solve the case, outside experts use logic and science in an effort to debunk the supernatural.
It's a dead zone.
I did not find anything that could be interpreted as ghosts.
In the end, it's up to you to decide, is this place haunted or not? Sightseeing. A new town, a new day, new adventure.
Yep, here we are in Liverpool, Nova Scotia. There's a really strong marine kind of theme happening here. A lot of old buildings and old homes.
Yeah, I think a lot of these coastal towns, that's where we always find the best ghosts, isn't it?
We're headed to the Queens County Museum. We get a call from them that they need some help, some answers. I guess they're having a lot of paranormal activity. They believe multiple presences.
My name is Linda Rayfuse. I'm the director here at the Queens County Museum. Over the past many years, we have experienced a presence. Very strong feelings as though he's either behind you or he's in front of you. He's watching you. I knew that he wasn't real because he disappeared right in front of my eyes. We hear voices because it will push things off of the shelves in the gift shop. Several of us have been out in the archives on different occasions. And we noticed this wave of, I'll call it smoke, for the lack of a better word, dark smoke. It's almost like it's moving like in waves.
I can't wait to see what their hands reveal.
It's always so interesting how the living interact with the dead. And if you look after the living, I'll look after the dead.
Yes, yes.
So I'm gonna come around. So you get my arm there. All right, so we're walking up to the building. Wow, it feels very dense already.
I felt it as soon as we got out of the car.
Thank you so much.
Hi, welcome to the Queens County Museum.
Hi there, I'm Mark.
And I'm Laura.
And I'm really glad you could join us today because we'd like to share some of the stories of some things that have been happening here over the past years.
Perfect.
Great.
This is a county museum for a local history. When the visitors come inside, they are taken by the interior design. It's a cathedral ceiling. Liverpool, back in its early history, was a shipbuilding town, so we have a lot of tools from the shipbuilding era. We have been donated anything from household items to some beautiful vintage clothing over the years, a significant amount of wartime memorabilia. So come on in here.
Do you feel that?
Yeah, it's really heavy in here, like head-splitting heavy. Because I perceive energy in all forms, sometimes it comes through like a physical feeling. Sometimes I get a dizzy feeling. Sometimes I do get a headache.
Now you're here in our research center. We have the Thomas Riddell Research Center here, archives for people to come and learn about our local history. Right here is where several years ago, I myself saw a gentleman in a brown suit. He had his back to me, but he was a full-figured spirit. And the only reason I say that he's spirit, ghost, because as soon as I turned the light on, I caught him by surprise. He caught me by surprise. He straightened right up, and he didn't even turn around. He just immediately disappeared.
Wow.
Has anybody else seen him?
He has been seen out in our main exhibit gallery by one of our local people. She said, "Do you realize that there's a gentleman in a brown suit out in the main gallery? I just saw him."
Because some people, they actually feel somebody brush against them, or they feel somebody's breath, or they smell something. Is there anything like that with him?
Just the feeling.
Okay.
Just a very strong feeling that he's right there. We also hear voices.
So are you hearing what they're actually saying, or
No.
it's just like voices sort of muffled?
We can't make out what the words are. It's like they're muffled. If someone had a radio on out there and turned the volume up, but you can't hear what the words are that they're saying.
Is there times that there's, say, 2 people in the room and they both hear it?
Yeah. You know, I'm not the only one who has experienced all that goes on here. So I'd like to introduce you to staff members who have their own stories to tell you.
Very interesting. I feel all kinds of energy.
How are you? My name's Linda Molson, and I'm the interpreter here. We're standing right now in the wing of the archives where the Thomas Retold study is. Thomas Retold was an author. He wrote fictional history. After he passed, his son took some of his inheritance money, and he built this research center on for us. But he also did the den.
Wow.
He wanted his dad to be honored. It was built as an exact replica of his actual den in his house.
So all the artifacts in the room,
Everything.
are they replicas or are they actual
They're actual
artifacts?
It's a pretty active space already, I can feel. There's a lot going on here. Is there anything that you've noticed here?
Actually, there is. Kind of where the door is. And I saw a dark wispy. I've seen it a few times. It's probably about 2 feet long and probably, I'd say, about 6 to 7 inches wide. And it kind of swirls around and then it shoots off into the den. And you can get up and go in the den and look and it's not there. It has gone.
When you say wispy, does it look like smoke or mist?
Yeah, it's a smoky kind of thing, like it's out of the corner of your eye. Something just whizzes by and you're like, oh, what was that? But you'll just get a glimpse of it, but we've seen it full on.
Besides the wispies, is there anything else that you're feeling, experiencing here?
We actually hear a cat meowing over by the exit door, and we have gotten up. We've opened the door, but there's no cat. It's only the sound of him meowing.
Okay.
I had a visitor come in. It was a gentleman and had no idea about this experience I had had. And he called me over and he said, are you aware of the ghost or spirit cat that's on that ship? And I said, really? He goes, it's a big orange cat. So I'm like, okay, now it's validated.
I believe that some people are more sensitive to ghosts than others. It's a matter of frequency. If that person is on the same frequency as that ghost, they're going to be able to tell that that ghost is there. The staff at the museum, some of them were very tapped in.
Hopefully you guys can get to the bottom of this and explain some of what's going on around here.
That's what we're here for.
Excellent.
We're here in our collection storage area. There is a presence that our staff over the years, including myself, have felt. Maybe it's a younger person because we feel it's a bit mischievous because it will push things off of the shelves in the gift shop.
What kind of things is this spirit pushing around?
Children's books, just something to get our attention.
Of course, yes. I just feel the mischief.
Yeah. It's like, here I am. I'm here. We have heard voices of children out here. I came in here one morning to open up the museum, and as I approached that collection storage room, I heard her say, hi, Linda. And I was like, oh my God, she finally spoke to me. One of our summer students, Kinsey, she feels like the little girl will even hold her hand.
You must be Kinsey.
Yes, I'm Kinsey Francis. A lot of our resident spirits I have had contact with, but the most important is the little girl. I see her quite a bit. When I came to the museum 2 years ago, she was probably the first one that really jumped out at me because she smacked the glass. And I heard it and I turned around. No one was there. And so from there, it just kind of carried on. We had went out to the activity room and I put both my hands out and I felt her grab them and she pulled me down to her level and it was almost like I was looking at her. And I had this connection happen. And from that moment, I knew that that was never going to be broken. So I'd like to know why she chose me to stick to so much.
I'd be happy to examine your hand for the answers. When I take that person's hand, I'm going to be able to tell them the things that they need to do to appease the spirits or what they need to do to ask them to move on. Hi, Kinsey. So we're talking again about this little girl that's a spirit, and you want to know why she's attached herself to you.
Yes.
I use eucalyptus oil. It's a strong scent. You just need to smell it and you go right on psychic mode. Okay, I'm totally blind in the left eye and I only see through a pinhole in the right eye. My technique is very unique. People have said that they've never met anybody who touches a hand in my case, and I'm able to see images. When I first read Kinsey, one of the first images that I saw was a little girl tugging on her pants or tugging on her shirt as if to say, come and play with me. Okay, what I saw is that you've got the spirit of a child, and she picked this up right away, like it was just sort of like somebody my age. She's learned that she can trust you and that she can trust you going forward. I see a record player, and it's one that plays over and over again. But what I see is that she's been around for a very long time, probably a couple 100 years. It's like she was left behind, and that's why she clings to you, is that she's afraid about being left behind again.
Laura and I are focusing our investigation on a room where we feel a very strong spirit presence.
Yeah, so I guess this is Thomas Rydell's den, the reproduction of his den. I come in here, immediately feel this terrible crushing pain in my head, like somebody kind of got me in the temple and it goes straight across my head. So walking into the Thomas Rydell room, feeling that head-splitting heaviness that I felt, I think that it really speaks to how he felt when he was passing. And maybe there's something around having a stroke or something like that. I have to kind of feel at the room a little bit and see what that's all about, because I don't quite understand yet where that's coming from. And sometimes touching objects of the person that they owned, it helps, because I'm really drawn to this watch. So just as I'm holding this and feeling this space, the energy builds. I can feel him here. He's a very proud man. The stories that he creates, it's almost like they're alive in him. He's basically saying, this research center was named after me, and this is where I reside, and this is where I will always reside. Being in the room, I could feel his, he almost tortured himself with perfectionism. We talked to the staff about the black wispies, and I just think that's him moving into his space so that he can do his work. The dark smoke that follows Thomas Rydell, or is a sign that he's around, is probably more attributed to his unfinished business in his life and the things that were left undone. Okay, so this is called the collection storage room. I could feel children's laughter and some kind of noises coming from a piano, like plunk, plunk, plunk. So there is this child presence here, about 4 or 5, very early, like maybe 1800s, like clothing. I've been very drawn to this doll here, and I think this is really the center of a lot of the activity, just because the little girl really likes to play with this doll and can almost like see her rocking the doll back and forth in the rocking chair. Maybe that's the connection too with the staff member here, just the feeling like of wanting to have company. For me, I don't like leaving things undone. This little girl has been trapped in a place of unawareness for over 200 years. I would normally cross over spirits, but the museum staff was so connected to her and they didn't want to see her go. I have to always find a balance between what people want, what they're asking me to do, and what spirit needs.
Laura and I believe spirits are behind the strange events at the Queens County Museum, but not everyone agrees.
I'm Daryl Walsh. I'm a paranormal analyst. My job is to come into haunted places and see if they actually are haunted. Today, I'm visiting the Queens County Museum. One of the phenomena is that they hear voices apparently coming out of the wall. Now, I noticed they have a lot of vents. It's possible that somewhere else in the building, another entranceway to a vent, somebody's radio was playing, a couple people were talking, traveled down through the air vents. So therefore, anybody in the archives would think they were hearing something abnormal. It would not be clear. They would just hear mumbling anyway, and that's why perhaps they couldn't make out voices, or they couldn't make out words.
That would do it.
Another interesting case for me was the apparent apparition in the archival room of the man in a tan suit, 1930s, 1940s vintage.
Yeah, those frames would explain the guy in the brown suit.
The interesting thing about that, if I were to explain it, would be you're here in a very vintage museum. Everything around, there's almost nothing modern. So you arrive at what you believe to be a haunted museum with vintage things in it. You begin to walk into the room, you flick the light on. As you turn your head, just at the spot they thought they saw a man in a tan suit, happens to be a wall with all beige color on it. Since it only lasts a split second, I would just happen to think that the brain filled in incorrectly what they thought they saw. Now, the black wisp. Although I can explain almost everything in the museum, there was one element, this black, wispy, cloud-like image that started in the archive room and then moved into the Thomas Riddell office. I thought, well, okay, there's a printer right next to it. Perhaps an ink cartridge blew up, and so there's a bunch of black stuff, and, you know. Well, you'd be an obvious culprit, except you're not. That has stumped me. If on a scale of 1 to 10, I would rate this museum as haunted or not, I would have to give it, only because of the black cloud, a rating of 2. Because of that darn cloud, I can't say 0.
With one expert completely baffled, another joins the investigation.
My name is Rick Sr. I'm a home inspector here on the South Shore. I've been inspecting homes in the area for 10 years. I understand that there are several sightings and unexplained noises that people have been hearing. Personally, I've never seen any evidence of a ghost or the paranormal, so I would have to say I'm a doubter. I inspected the exhibit room and noticed that there was new mechanical ductwork in the ceiling. This can be quite noisy, so I thought I would go to the attic to investigate further. We're up in the attic now, looking at the mechanical system for the building. Everything is fairly new and fairly clean. I'm not seeing anything that would create smoke in the building. I removed several access panels to investigate inside the ductwork and found everything to be in very good condition. This is the intake for the mechanical system. There are some dead bugs and some dust in here. The bugs and dust really won't create that much noise because most of the ductwork is insulated. When I inspected the collection storage room, I noticed there was an electric heater in the corner. These can make a humming noise when they're running. I further looked at the structure and the overall condition of the room, and everything appears to be in good condition. When I inspected the archive room, I looked at some of the light fixtures, which are not making any excess noise, and the overall structure of the room appears to be in good condition. I cannot see where any bangs would be caused by movement of the building or the heating system. I did not find anything that could be interpreted as an apparition or smoke. The building appears to be in very good condition.
Well, Linda, it's been a very exciting time here at the museum. Thank you for inviting us.
I'm so glad you came.
I've got a few answers for you and a few things come forward. What I want to share with you first is Thomas Riddell.
Yeah.
What an interesting character. And the black wispies, or the wisps of smoke,
yes,
that travel. My impression of that is that it's a representation of who he is, how he's moving through the museum.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't get a bad feeling about it. I feel like it's him traveling around, and sometimes you're catching a glimpse of him.
Right, okay.
And, you know, it would make a lot of sense to me that you see him out of the corner of your eye.
Yeah.
He actually does not want to interfere with your work, but at the same time, he made it very clear that he has a legacy to uphold.
He does.
And so he will continue to watch over everyone here. When we walked into the main gallery, I felt this kind of brushing against my leg and had the impression that it was a cat. And I would describe the cat as a ginger-colored cat.
We did have a museum cat. His name was Curtis.
Aww.
And Curtis was an orange tabby. But then, unfortunately, one afternoon he crossed the road and he was hit by a car.
It makes me absolutely believe that that is your
We're
cat.
talking about
We're
the same
talking about
cat.
the same cat.
Very
Absolutely.
good, very good.
And you can address him as Curtis.
As Curtis, yeah.
So when we were walking through the storage collections area, we had a lot of impressions in there, but I think the most important thing is a little girl. She has dark circles under her eyes. You can tell she hasn't been well. She died suddenly with smallpox.
Okay.
And I feel like she's connected herself to all of you because now all of you are her caregivers.
Yes.
And I did get the name Audrey.
Okay, Audrey. It's really nice to know, Laura, to that you had a name come to you, because especially with children, you always want to be able to call them something. And so I think that's wonderful.
For some, the events at the Queens County Museum are easy to dismiss. But for others, I'm betting our investigation opens up a whole new way of seeing things.
Executive producer Johanna Elliott, supervising producer Jennifer Comeau, series director Donna Davies, hosts Mark Jolly and Laura Warren, director of photography Mark Hammond, integrated described video consultant Ron Rickford, development and production executive Andrew Morris, director programming AMI TV Brian Perdue, vice president content development and programming John Melville, president and CEO David Arrington, Ocean Entertainment Limited.
Produced in association with AMI.